Can you guess where I'll pop up next? Haha! I was sitting here all this time. Hello and welcome to haQ. My name is Jakob. I'm your host, and you're watching a what is this? Is this a vlog or something? We're talking about something serious here. We're talking about Apple defecating inter-app audio. There's something that didn't ring right with that. Audio was going to be built. It's going to be deprecate. What did I say? I gotta recheck that. We're talking about Apple defecate, word, discharge, feces from the... In this episode, we're going to be talking about Apple deprecating inter-app audio and its protocol. And its protocol, inter-app audio is a protocol. Before we start reading the information, I'm going to roll my intro. Put in the MC 101. Boom, 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 boom. What does this mean? So what does this mean? Apple deprecating inter-app audio. Well, it seems to mean that inter-app audio is gone forever right now with iOS 13. Stop. Deprecate does not mean disappear right now. So what I did was I went to the pros in the field, music app developers. Now there's quite a lot of points to get through in this video. The way I went about getting my information was I contacted developers. And the reason for that is that the developers are the ones that has to implement any changes that Apple makes. And so they should, of course, know better than any of us what this really means. So I began by contacting Matthew Fesher from AudioKit, who makes Synth 1. And he linked me to a proper development type information article thing from Apple. And so I've linked to that one down in the description. It can be a bit dry to read for, regular users like you and me who don't really get the lingo, but it's there if you want to read it. Now, Matthew Fesher did also link me to a blog post written by Michael Tyson of AudioBuzz. And there's some really nice information in there. AudioBuzz is a very important app for iOS music because it has helped in shaping the platform that we are using today. I then also spoke to Jonathan Liljedahl, the guy who makes AUM and AudioShare. And AUM has become a very important app. Now, lastly, I spoke to Kai Aras, the guy who made Volt Synth. And the reason to why I spoke with him is because I've seen a lot of comments online from people that seems to think that just because IAA will disappear, we will no longer get these full-sized apps. And Kai has something to say about that. Okay, so we are going to get to the bottom of this, and we are going to start with AudioBuzz and the blog post that Michael Tyson wrote. But before that, a little bit of background. AudioBuzz has been a very important thing for the iOS music making community. Before AudioBuzz, there were no way of actually getting apps to talk to one another. Well, there was Audio Jack, but then AudioBuzz kind of took over that role completely and just ran with it. And AudioBuzz is the reason to why we then got the inter-app audio protocol, a protocol that allows apps to be able to announce that they have an audio output or an audio input. And that allows apps to talk to one another. Before this, every app was an island on its own. And the years went, with AudioBuzz and inter-app audio, and then Audio Unit Extension, or AU version 3, or AUV3 as we call it as we know it, came to be. And Audio Unit Extensions is a very different thing from inter-app audio. With Audio Unit Extensions, you could now have several instances of the same thing. And so audio unit extensions are very much akin to what VSTs are, or audio units on Mac. It's a plugin format. So there are big differences between the audio unit format and the inter-app audio format. And Apple kind of wants developers to start using the audio unit extension format. going forward. And it becomes very clear if you read this article that I'm gonna read now, linked down in the description, together with some other interesting links about Inter-App Audio, about audio unit extensions. So this is written by Michael from AudioBus, and it's written with AudioBus in mind, but the information is still very relevant to all other apps using the Inter-App Audio protocol. Hello? You may be aware that Apple have just announced that Inter-App Audio, the technology on which parts of the latest version of AudioBus are currently built, is going to be deprecated in iOS 13 in favor of audio unit extensions. I wanted to take a moment to explain what it means for AudioBus and for those apps that support AudioBus. TLDR, it'll make pretty much no difference at all, so worry not. In the short-medium term, there'll be no difference whatsoever. Deprecated only means that developers are encouraged to use the replacement technology instead, which is great. But IAA won't disappear anytime soon. Some deprecations can take years and years, especially if the outgoing technology is widely used. In the longer term, if Apple do pull the plug on IAA, the path forward will depend on what everyone's doing. If there's just no demand for sending audio from app to app and everyone has moved over to audio units, then fine. AudioBus will be simply a best-in-class audio unit host with all the features it has now with respect to audio units and MIDI. Old apps that haven't been updated to audio unit extensions will cease to function with AudioBus. Yes, so if Apple does in the end decide to kill Inter-App Audio, and then the developers would have to upgrade those apps to audio unit extensions instead. And for some developers who might not be making even enough money to survive on selling apps, I can understand if they choose to leave at that point. We've seen apps die out before when Apple has put out a big iOS release which changes the coding or something so much that developers just drop out because they just simply cannot afford spending the time actually upgrading their apps in order to have them run on the newest iOS update. And so some apps just disappear. I just want to continue reading what Michael says here about AudioBus and Inter-App Audio, because he goes on to say, if there is demand still for AudioBus style workflows, which I suspect is likely, especially with DAW apps like GarageBand and Cubasis, then AudioBus will step in and fill the gap left by Inter-App Audio's departure. It'll look just the same to users and developers. There'll still be an AudioBus SDK and the AudioBus app will handle routing. It just won't be IAA under the hood anymore. Okay, so that's AudioBus, but what about something like AUM? Well, you should know that AUM is already using the AudioBus SDK. Yes, Jonathan has integrated the AudioBus software development kit into AUM so that people who want to integrate AUM with AudioBus can do that. In the email he wrote to me, he even mentions that Loopy, for instance, can only take in sound via AudioBus. Now, Jonathan has more to say. Before I get into that, I just want to say that he wrote to me in Swedish, but I have translated it and I'm now going to quote it back to you. If Inter-App Audio disappears and Michael finds a way to replace this with similar technology that AudioBus used before Inter-App Audio came, and then in a specific way which Apple approves of, then that's great and it's something I welcome. So it all seems very fine. But we also do have to remember that, as Michael did express earlier, and also Jonathan here, whether this will happen or not, what they're describing is also very much tied to demand. Demand? My accents are so messed up. And let's face it, more and more people are starting to use the audio unit extension format. Even newer mobile music musicians who start going over to the iOS platform, well, they're starting out with audio units, and many of them don't even understand why some of us like the older Inter-App Audio thing. Personally, I've always found the Inter-App Audio protocol to be very unstable. I've never been able to run a completely fully stable system. Then again, I haven't been able to run a completely fully stable audio unit extension system either. Both have their pros and cons in some way, but I really do think that a lot of us have to reconcile with the fact that audio unit extensions is the way forward. Alright, so I just want to get into this last thing, because I did mention that I did speak to a fourth developer, Kai Aras, who made VoltSynth. And the reason to why I wanted to speak with him is because a lot of people seem to think that just because IAA is disappearing, we will no longer get these full-sized apps. So before I get into this, I just want to say that I don't have any written statement from Kai. I just spoke to him over Skype. And so the only evidence I have is this picture. I told him to wave to you. Right. I asked Kai about VoltSynth in particular, because VoltSynth is an audio unit extension, but you can load it up in a standalone mode. It has a keyboard, everything works, you can connect MIDI, you can connect audio hardware devices to your iPad and it will still work. And I asked him, how is that possible? I mean, this is an audio unit, right? Well, he told me that he puts in an extra bit of code that actually loads up a plugin holder first, and then that plugin holder will load up the audio unit plugin. And that's how you're able to run Volt as a standalone app with everything working. And I asked him, why do you do that then? Why not just make it so that it can load up into an audio unit host? Well, Kai said that he also views the iPad as an instrument. And when you're using it as an instrument, you should be able to load up an app, have it fill out the screen, and have all of the controls and everything just be accessible with its own keyboard, having its own abilities to connect to hardware. And, well, the point I am trying to get at is that here we have at least one developer doing it, and he's not the only one. And he's doing it because he also views the iPad as an instrument. I too sometimes view the iPad as an instrument. When I met up with Gaz Williams over in Trappendorf earlier this year, 2019 by the way, he told me that that's how he views the iPad too, as an instrument. And he loves loading up full-sized apps that fill out the screen and fiddle around with that. I do that personally too. Kai Aras, a developer, does that. And so for those of you viewers who initially thought that IAA going away means that we no longer will get full-sized apps, do you really think that that's the case? Because I can tell you this, that if there is a demand for something like that, and the developers know that, then they will most likely try to fill it. So in the end, I don't think that IAA going away will mean the end of full-sized apps. Now, if you're still here and you've heard all of it, you feel you have a grasp of it, but you still feel uneasy about the future. Maybe you just don't trust Apple no matter what these developers say. You want to know that you'll be safe using the stuff you always used in the way you've used it. You want to have those full screen apps. What do? How do you stay safe for the future? Well, if you want to make sure that you can still use the Inter-App Audio Protocol and you can use the older apps, then what you have to do is actually keep an extra device, an iDevice, with an older iOS on it, together with your older apps. I do that myself. I have an iPad mini 1, which is still on iOS 9 because you can't upgrade it up to iOS 10 or above. And there I have some older apps that are completely gone today. And when I say gone, I mean gone from the App Store. You can no longer download them. I have them backed up on that device. I also have an iPad mini 2, which is going to stick at iOS 12, and I think I'm gonna keep my iPad Pro here, 12.9 inch, at iOS 12 too. And I'm most likely going to get a newer iPad for iOS 13 and everything that comes after. That's the only way you can really be certain that you can still use the older stuff. And you know, I can seriously understand how this might annoy a lot of people, myself included. It might even infuriate some people. You might not be able to afford to just go and buy another device. But we also have to realize that we are in Apple's backyard. They own this stuff, and we're choosing to be part of it by using their stuff.
This is Apple, yeah? Yes. And this is how they run it. This is Apple, yeah. This is Apple, yeah. This is Apple, yeah. Every day unwanted updates, yeah.
But why?
Oh, you like this bit?
Yes.
We're gonna take this bit.
Why?
Oh, you want this bit? Here, you can have it back.
I am not an Apple fanboy. If I found another platform that can offer just as much as the iOS platform has been able to offer me, then I would switch over. I will not stick to a company. I will stick to its tools. If the tools are good and they fit my workflow, then that's what I'll use. Right now, this fits me. Even though some things are just horrible. Let's see how it turns out in iOS 13.
It seems clear that Apple won't just pull the plug on Inter-App Audio right now with iOS 13. If there are any developers watching this and you have more information, any recent information, if you come back and you see this video in a year, if you have new information, just keep commenting down there. I will make sure to pin the best, most informative comment. So if they decide not to, oh God, I've been sick for some time. It's been almost 3 weeks or something since I came home from the vacation. Me and my girlfriend, we got sick during our vacation. We had about 2 days, you know, where we were in this cabin and everything was nice. And then the rest of the time we were dead sick, really sick. And we came home and we were sick, and I'm still not good. My voice is still not back completely from that whole endeavor. My girlfriend, she's still feeling a bit dizzy when I don't know why I'm talking about this. Now, if you did learn something from this video, why don't you help me out by pressing that thumbs up? If you want to support me in a financial way, Patreon, PayPal, check out my music right there, and Bandcamp. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. All comments and ratings are very much appreciated. Now, go finger all of your stuff and have a lot of fun doing it. I'm getting really slow, this sickness.
Why?
Oh, you like this bit?
Yes.
We're gonna take this bit.
Why?
Oh, you want this bit? Here, you can have it back. Yes. Yes. We're gonna make billions of dongles. Billions of dongles. Dongle, dongle. Everybody now. Dongle, dongle, dongle.